Hey guys, welcome back to the 3 of 7 podcast. It's me and your favorite co-host, Brooke Rite.
Did you just forget my name?
No, I was actually going to use your first name, your full name.
Don't tell people that.
And then I was like, well, that might make Biscuit mad.
That's like telling people Chili's real name.
Yeah.
It's just not a good idea.
I like your real name, though. I think it's a cool name.
Well, we'll leave that a mystery for now.
Yep.
Oh, boy.
So, do you want me to introduce people to what the show's going to be all about, or do you want to?
I think we both should.
Okay, well, I'll let you go first.
I think today is a really honest recap of what 2024 has been for us. So far, I love that. Honestly, like right now, I haven't said this to you yet because I just walked in and sat down, but like I already feel kind of vulnerable and like, about it, but I'm going to do it anyway because I think good things will come from it.
Well, you had a big day of podcasting yesterday.
Yeah.
Too.
Big day of podcasting. Well, so did you.
Well, I'm a pro.
Yeah. Well, you are a pro.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're very good at it. Yeah, it's just, this year's just been really hard, and the stuff that I feel like, especially the stuff that I'm going to share is just, yeah, it's just, it can feel, I guess people say, like, the cool thing to say is, well, just don't care what people think, like, it's fine, don't care. But, like, for me, that's not super realistic. Like, I care about people understanding my intentions.
Mm-hmm.
And my intentions today with this podcast are to hopefully bring some hope to people, and in a weird way of talking about our hardships, because we have a lot of people in our community and that are close to us that are going through really hard times right now, and people are feeling really low, and they're confused, they're scared, they're angry, they're sad, and like, I just want to say that that's okay, and like, that's just life, and we're all going to get through it, and we all have heaven waiting on us, but things ebb and flow. So yeah, I will, yes, that's all I want to say.
No, I think that's a good introduction, and you're right. The older you get, the more you realize that life is a difficult journey, and I think it's difficult no matter really where you live, what your background is, how much money you have. Different people have different types of difficulties.
Absolutely.
But there's a part of you that thinks, well, our life is really great. Like, we have everything that we need. We have great jobs that we love. We have great friends. We have everything,
we have
literally.
Great family.
Yeah, we have purpose. I mean, we have a lot of things that other people are lacking in life, but it can still be hard, even in the midst of those things. You can still get blindsided by stuff, and I think when you're younger, you think, can't really be that difficult, and you go through. I don't know. It's just, once you get a little older, you realize, okay, you look at not only what you are faced with and what you're enduring, but also the people around you, and you realize, whoa, this is pretty much everybody I know.
Yes.
Is at least at some point over the course of, a few years, going to have some seasons where they get blindsided by something, or something creeps up on them.
Yeah.
And makes life not so comfortable.
Yes.
So yeah, it is good to talk about it, and I think with the stuff with me with 2024, you know, I've kind of breezed over my own personal challenges that I've had, and kind of made jokes about them, and but I haven't formally sat down and talked about, you know, what it was like for me, and I think that's an interesting thing to do. So,
and that's, to me, not for you, because I think you are very gifted at podcasting. You're very gifted at this, so you articulate very well. I am not as gifted, and I have not processed through. I've processed through a little bit with you and with my community, but, you know, some things might come up on here that I haven't really said before or thought about before, you know, because it's all been recent. So, yeah, it's just, I think our community is what makes me want to do this. You know, the 3 of 7 community, our Patreon, these people that have been in our lives for years since you started this. It's like, if there are people that say, you guys got on this podcast and whined for 2.5 hours about your lives, like, I'm fine with that, as long as there's one person, 2 people, 3 people that find encouragement and find comfort and say, well, their year sucked too, but they're still doing it. And like, we still love God. We still love our lives. We still are like motivated to do better. And like, we're here, you know?
Yeah. And I would say this year hasn't, I think for me, it would be a little too dramatic to say this year has sucked, although I have said that multiple times.
You've said it a lot.
I have.
You've said it more than me.
Yeah. I guess the more accurate way to characterize it is there have been things that have happened this year that sucked, because to acknowledge, again, we acknowledged a lot of good things that we have just a little bit ago, but even on top of that, I mean, I got to do the Colorado Trail Race. It's been a wonderful year for 3 of 7 Project. We've grown substantially. We've gotten to train, you know, hundreds of people this year so far in the midst of all this stuff. So, and so we've still been able to do what we've been called to do and make an impact and continue to grow even in the midst of the sucky things that have happened. So,
yeah, I feel the same too. I'm not going to take the time to list off the highlights of my year, but exact same. While we've been in the trenches, good things are still happening. And that's a cool thing to point out, Boo.
Yeah, and I would say one of the best things that has happened for me personally this year has been produced by the sucky things. You know what I mean? Yeah,
well, yes, I agree. You want to get into it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to try my best to articulate this concisely and quick enough that we can get to, I'm not going to overthink it either. So, starting in November, if anybody hasn't heard my story, short version, I was a drug addict for almost 6 years. I got clean in 2015, and since then I have struggled with anxiety. I'm an overthinker. I've recently been given a official diagnosis, which I'm very skeptical of, but of OCD, which fits perfect with my family history and some of the things I do. It just fits. I'm a ruminator. I just get stuck in my head. And so,
well, you did.
I still do.
Yeah.
I was stuck in my head a minute ago before we walked in here.
You developed some good tools, though.
I have, but most of the good tools are just accepting the parts of myself that are not optimal, like ruminating. Yeah. It's not getting rid of it. It's just accepting it. All that to say, last year, super excited. I got off an SSRI that I had been on for about a year. Had like an incredible couple months. Great. I remember around Thanksgiving starting to kind of feel low, starting to obsess over my eating, obsess over exercise. And for me, that looks like if I can't eat the way I want to eat, like super healthy, I get dysregulated. It makes me feel anxious, on edge. I can't stay grounded very well. And I'm high functioning in that. But it was like, looking back now, I can see the progression.
Yeah, and I think it was limiting you in a lot of ways too, because you would say no to a lot of things because you knew you wouldn't be able to eat the food that you thought you had to eat to feel good, or do the workout you thought you had to do every single day to feel good. And so, it limited you a lot for sure.
And that is the classic, like those things are the classic how OCD can kind of show up. And I am going to reference OCD a good bit, but it's just so you guys can kind of anchor to something for the symptoms that I'm talking about. OCD looks so different for so many people, so don't put it in a category. But so Chadd's right. Like, I didn't go on trips. Everything in my world was about controlling how I felt. And I needed things to be a certain way to feel okay. And for me, that got progressive. And then I was already kind of leading into that and feeling down, which is not abnormal for me. Like, I remember around Christmas and stuff, like just being like, my mood's not as high. Like, I'm just a little low. But that all culminated the day after Christmas. I was doing a CrossFit workout and I went to lift the bar and my back just did this thing that I was like, yep, this is bad. And I had bulged 2 of the lower discs. And it was so bad that, like, I couldn't walk normally for probably 2 weeks. Like, I remember trying to go on a walk with Kelsey around the campground, which is flat asphalt. And, like, I couldn't. And it had been, like, 12 or 13 days. I couldn't bend at the waist for a while. And I haven't experienced that as an adult. Like, I haven't had an injury. I haven't had a limitation that takes away like all of my coping. Again, I was telling you before, I was obsessive about getting my workout in. If I felt anxious or overwhelmed, I would go on a hike. I would get out in the woods. I would go on a run. Well, I had none of that. So already being in a weird mental place, and then that injury, I started to hyper focus on my body. And even more so hyper focus on how I felt, hyper focus on the pain. Also a lot of fear around the back injury. Like, can I do this without pain medicine? Like, what if I were to ever, it just brought up a lot of thoughts, like in the future. What if I ever were to have surgery? Like, what if I had to take opiates? And I think I was already headed that direction before the back injury, but I think that kind of accelerated everything for me. And that was in January.
Were you also thinking, like, what if I'm not ever able to lift weights again and stuff?
100%.
Yeah.
There was no,
because that would suck.
Yeah. There was no, I mean, I have a wonderful friend named Lindsay Belcase, and she's a PT, and she helped me. And she was very encouraging, but, like, there wasn't a timeline on it. There wasn't, like, it was all subjective. We'll see how this goes, and I'm thinking, since I got sober, I have used exercise to stay regulated. I've just relied on it to stay happy and keep my mood okay. And if I am in that place where I'm ruminating or I'm stuck on something or I'm fearful and I'm anxious and I'm having panic attacks, exercise can take the edge off for me. And so that mixed with the pain in my back and knowing like I don't need to go on any kind of muscle relaxer or pain medication. Yeah, it just created a cycle of fear.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is too, I really wasn't aware of what was going on with you internally, because back then we didn't really talk about these things a lot. Remember that? Like,
no,
we didn't have these conversations. So I was just looking at you thinking, well, she hurt her back. Like, she's going to get better.
Yeah.
Like, I had no idea that it was causing you to spiral like this. You know what I mean?
Spiral is the perfect word.
Because, you know, you somebody like me, I'm not a worrier. I'm not an anxious person. I'm dang sure not OCD.
You're dang sure not an overthinker
about
either.
anything.
No.
So, like, if I hurt my back, I'm like, dang, I hurt my back.
Yeah.
But I generally always, now it would be different if I hurt my back bad enough that I thought, oh, I'm never going to be able to work out or lift weights again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had no idea that it was causing you this much trouble, you know, because I'm just looking at it saying, well, yeah, your form was wrong. You bulged the disc. You hurt your back. You're going to get better. Well, let's just carry on, you know?
Yeah. And I want to touch on that later on in the story, because it did transform our marriage and the depth of our relationship, because I've had 2 other seasons that looked very similar to this. It's almost where the rumination and the obsession and the fear just becomes what I perceive as out of control, and the intrusive thoughts become out of control. And I can shed more light on that too. But I just feel out of control. Like, I don't feel like I have control over my mind anymore, and it is terrifying. And that is really, really shameful for me. Has been. I don't feel as much shame about it anymore, because I realize how many other people experience it. But I had never shared with you in the past what was really going on because of shame.
Well, it's interesting that people are ashamed of that. And I think that we don't understand that we have to train our minds at some point as adults, the same way that we have to train our bodies as athletes. And because we live in the age that we live in, we can go a long time as adults and we're never really forced or not forced, but there's no emphasis on training the mind.
And I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. And so I think it's crazy because somebody that, like you said, is ashamed of the fact that they lose control of their mind because life is throwing stuff at them and they can't keep up with it. If that's the right words, I don't know whether it is or not, but they lose control of their mind. Their mind just starts to run away from them, right?
Yeah.
And that's freaky, man.
It is freaky.
But like, that's not because there's something wrong with you or your mind. It's just simply your mind has not been trained. You have not developed the tools that you need in order to encounter these things that you're encountering. And so I believe one of the reasons that I am able to live the way that I live, like you said, I'm not an overthinker. I don't worry. I don't have to plan. I'm really unique in that way. I think you could probably attest to that.
Yes.
It's a great way to live because it's low stress. It's I always feel in control of my mind.
Yeah.
At least 99% of the time. I mean, sometimes I'll talk about when life threw blood clots at me, and that kind of rattled me a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think the reason that I'm able to live the way I live now is simply because I was fortunate enough to go through a military training pipeline like Bud's SEAL training.
Yeah.
That threw this stuff at me, but I also had men there who were teaching me and mentoring me how to get through this stuff. Mm-hmm. And so I was able to go through this training pipeline that really solidified these tactics and techniques in my mind and the way I think. at a young age.
Yeah.
And so as life has happened, those things have served me very well for the most part.
Yeah.
And so I'm fortunate to have that. And I think that so many people don't get that. You don't have to get it from the military, but you have to have some mentor, some adult in your life that guides you through this process of becoming an adult and training your mind. If you don't have that in a parent, in an uncle, in a family member, in a close friend, mentor that's older than you, if you don't have that, man, like, that's not your fault.
Yeah.
And most of us, all that we learn from the adults who are around us while we're children, all that we're learning from them is bad habits. We're learning bad habits from them. And this is for everybody. This is not just for me and you.
Yeah.
And I think people need to take that into consideration. And I'm saying this not to attack the people to attack parents or to attack people who didn't equip the younger generation with what they needed. I'm not saying it to attack them. I'm saying it to the people who are struggling and their minds running away because they don't have the tools they need to endure what life is throwing at them. Like, have some grace with yourself, man.
Yeah.
And understand you're not broken.
Yes.
You just need to find a mentor or a podcast or something to help you start to develop these tools, and then you need to start implementing those things, and then you need to start making those they need to become part of your default, your hard wiring.
Yes. My experience, though, is if you try to do that preemptively, like, oh, I'm 25, I know hard times are coming, I'm going to get a mentor and practice resiliency for when hard times come. For me, when I'm out of hard times, like right now, like when life is good and I'm generally an average amount of happy, I can't practice that for those moments. I have to be in it.
Yeah.
Like it has, the hard times have to come. And that's when I need that. For me, when you say mentor, for me, I have this core group of women around me. And there's 4 of them, and they are my sounding board. They're my mirror. They're my everything, and you. But let me I want to talk about all this, but let me keep going. Is that okay?
Yeah. That's, I'll let you keep going after saying that's the reason I love it when I see young people come out to the Rite of Passage.
Yeah.
Or the Proving Grounds or the basic course or whatever it is here at 307 Project. I just think, here's this young person that's doing exactly what you said. They're early on in their life. They're mature enough to realize hard times are coming.
Yes.
And whether they had a mentor or not, they are mature enough to be seeking out these environments that are challenging their mind and forcing them to develop tools that they know will then serve them later on in life.
And I think that 100% is helpful and effective.
Yeah.
And for me, the real work cannot come until I hit those moments,
Yeah, a lot. Yeah, you're right.
It can't be practiced.
Yeah, and I agree with you because I just happen to be blessed enough to enter this SEAL training pipeline. I just happen to be blessed enough to have this desire to do this thing.
Yeah, you made decisions.
Because I think a lot of us are the same way unless there's an absolute necessity to force tension upon ourselves in order to develop these, mindset tools.
Yeah.
Then we're not going to do it, man.
Yeah.
We're not going to do it. Now, I've learned the value of it over the years, and that's like such a foundational element of why I do everything I do.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's just a little challenge and value in that, I hope, for the listener.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So carry on, boo-boo. Sorry.
You're good. You're good. You don't have to say sorry. So where was I?
You were talking about how
My mind got
Yeah.
and you said spiral.
Yeah, with your back.
Yes, that
because
was
all of a sudden you weren't able to use the things like physical exercise primarily in order to cope.
I lost control.
Yeah.
I lost control of my life, and then quickly lost control of my mood, which is terrifying to me. Lost control of my thoughts. I have and have always had, I remember since I was a kid, and this is something also I've told Chadd for the first time this year that has been so freeing. Again, I feel I sound like a broken record, but a lot of people that struggle with OCD-like symptoms have something or experience thing called intrusive thoughts. And I think every human experiences intrusive thoughts. The difference is my reaction to the intrusive thought is probably a lot more intense than the average person. And the way I can describe it, like I'm totally comfortable sharing. And again, y'all, this stuff is hard. This stuff is deep. It's vulnerable. It's icky.
Well, the thing about it is when you talk to people about this, what you realize is somebody you've known for the last 5 years that you're close to is having the same issues, and they think they're the only one.
That's exactly why I'm about to share what I'm about to share. So my intrusive thoughts attack the things I love the most and the things that I fear the most. So I'm in this state, of just I'm anxious. I'm having daily panic attacks. I'm having trouble sleeping. I can't really relax very well. I'm having a lot of brain fog, mixed in with like this weird depressive feeling where it feels hard to talk. It feels hard to do anything. Now I am cooking dinner for you. I'm going to work. I'm like grasping. I'm still working out. I'm doing everything I can do to hold on tight. And then alongside that, the intrusive thoughts, like I'm in the house one day and I'm talking to you. And if anyone listens to this podcast or knows us, they know we like guns. And like I'm competing in the tactical games at the end of this month. And we've always had guns. We've always carried guns. And I'm sitting behind the couch and we have a table that butts up to our couch. And I'm talking to you across the room. And there's a gun laying between me and you. And I'm just focused on what you're saying. I'm like, my mind is just doing normal things. And I'm talking, it feels like something that enters your head violently. I don't know how to explain it, but this thought just comes across my mind and it's an image of me shooting you. And as soon as that image comes across, I just felt like my whole body tense up and just, oh my God, what does this mean? What does this mean about me?
Yeah.
I love my husband. I would never. Am I capable of that? Am I dangerous? Am I losing control to the point that I could like black out and be capable of that? Like maybe I am actually like really mentally ill, not struggling with anxiety, and like I'm a danger to my husband. And so that it is the intrusive thought comes. The healthy thing that I have learned to do is almost be funny about it. Right now, I still have those. And it can be, you name it. It can be violence. It can be sexual. It can be screaming out in like, if you're like Chadd was at a speaking engagement, a really nice one in Raleigh. And I kept thinking that I might just start screaming out. And I just had to laugh. I was just standing there on like, cause I was in a good place by that point, but I was just back there like smiling, like it's just funny. But in that moment, I had never shared my intrusive thoughts with a single human, period. I thought this is something that I don't need to tell anybody.
Yeah.
Because they're going to want to lock me up. Like if I tell Chadd right now, about this, he's going to be like calling around to try to put me away. And so I dealt with those in this season. And again, I didn't know what they were. Nobody had ever said OCD to me, or rumination, or like a fear of uncertainty. And yeah, it was just such a progressive thing. And I think what really made it worse, that is a pattern for me, is I feel that coming. I start feeling down, and not like, little things will irritate me more, aggravate me more. I'll start just struggling with stress, and I start to see what has happened in the past, and I'll notice the pattern, and then I'm like, uh-oh, here it comes. Like I've felt this before. Here it comes.
Oh yeah, and then it's just,
and yes, and then I am waging war against myself.
Yeah.
And then another layer to it for me that is always the nail in the coffin is my inner critic. My inner critic is just, all of the things I've told y'all so far are happening naturally. Not naturally. Like, a lot of it is my mistakes and my lack of coping, and my honestly, my lack of trust in Christ. But those things are happening, and then I have this really loud internal dialogue that is saying, you have the best job. Look at this house you're living in. Did you see how your husband's treating you? Your friends, you can't even show up for your friends. Like, you're just being a Debbie Downer. Like, you're just going over there, and it's just this fuel to this fire, instead of being compassionate to myself and being loving to myself. And there's a level to that too.
I see what you're saying. You start beating yourself up because you're like, you have everything, and you're acting like a turd.
Yeah, like you can't be happy. Like, I remember so many times with you, I have specific memories of riding in the car with you and just saying, I can't wait to be funny again. Yeah. Do you remember that? Mm-hmm. I can't wait to laugh again. I can't, because when I get into these seasons, all these things that are just a part of my soul and spirit, they just go away. And I don't enjoy food anymore. Like, I have zero appetite. I always lose weight.
Yeah, and that sucks for me too, because you don't want to cook as much.
I cooked almost every night. I made it a point to not let that go away.
I know, but you don't want to cook.
No, I don't, because I'm not hungry. Yeah, I don't, and I'm not. My mind just doesn't have the space to think about funny things and to think about happy things. It's just filled with, God, I don't know how to articulate it, and I don't think that's helpful for anybody. What I want to follow this up with is, that was, the back injury was the day after Christmas. Fast forward to the end of March. I had been battling, and the other day I was walking with Kelsey, and I was expressing to her how much gratitude I have that I feel better, and that I've made it out. Like, I'm okay. I've, everything in my life I maintained. And I just told her that I'm still thinking about, like, what went wrong. And what I want to share is that she looked at me in the eye and she goes, you fought really hard through that season. And she was trying to be encouraging. And a lot of times I was fighting myself. But I would go to our gym in our community, and we are so blessed, because most people in that building knew where I was at. All my friends knew where I was at. And that's just me. I'm not going to lie to people. And so I had the space to go into our gym. And I think one morning I tried to work out and I just couldn't. And so I just sat on a mat, and someone came over to me and started patting me on the back. I just started crying, and I just didn't care. I was just like, the folks at our gym would check in with me and they'd say, Brooke, how are you today? And I would say, today's really bad. And they would be like, okay. And that's it. You know, but like that within our community, that's normal. And man, that was such a gift.
Yeah,
and still is just a gift, that to be surrounded by people who can say, how are you? And they can see me. They know I'm not well. And there's no telling what they're going to enter into by asking that question, but they're willing to do it anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so cool that Jeff and Glenn and everybody who's a part of the ownership of CrossFit Rome. It's so cool that they've created that space, and like, and I know that the gym is made up of the people that come there. Yeah. Like that's what makes it. But you know, Jeff and them had to take such a risk, and still they're not making millions of dollars, and they're working their freaking butts off to try to make this happen, to try to keep this space open for these people to come. And so thank you to them. And
you know what's cool? Like, I'll call out Jeff specifically. I don't think he would mind. There's quite a few people like this at our gym. Jeff, I would share with Jeff where I was at on any given day. And some days, I gave Jeff a lot of details. And because I knew he could handle it. You know, I knew he just receives that well. And he, in turn, if he was having a tragic day, he would share honestly about his experiences without trying to guard against certain details to protect his image or to not burden me, or, you know, it's just real. Mm-hmm. It's just like, you ask a question, you give an honest answer. Sometimes we had time to talk about it. Sometimes we didn't. But it was just the check-in and the ability to feel the space, to just have people around you that you can just say, I feel terrible. And they're like, sounds good. Glad you're here.
Yeah, it's so much different than even when I was growing up. I mean, I remember working as a young adult on a farm, and it's like, nobody ever had any conversations at all about how they were doing.
Especially not with any depth.
And we were tight too. I mean, the people I worked with there, we were tight, but nobody ever had any conversations at all about it. You were just expected to show up and work hard, and that was it. So that's a lot different for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I got two things just leading up to where you are now.
Well, can I, if it's if it's in the good place now, do you care if I finish?
No, it's about what you were just talking about.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
The two things is for the listeners, when Brooke was talking about when she hurt her back and then she wasn't able to go and work out, how that really started the out of control spiral. It just made me think about how foolish we are to put all of our eggs in one basket. Mm-hmm. And a lot of us are doing that, and I've been guilty of doing it, especially using physical fitness and running to be the thing that is like my release from stress and worry or whatever I'm dealing with, and that being the only thing in my life that I had developed in order to cope with life. And that is not how you become resilient in life. So if you're doing that, you should think about, what are some other things, skill sets, what are some other passions that I can begin to develop now so that I don't have all my eggs in one basket. So if you really like to work out, that's great. Keep working out. But just know that there's going to be a time that's likely going to come where that's not going to be an option for you for a while. And it's going to be really nice if, 5 years ago you decided to take up painting or writing or, whatever, you name it. It's endless.
Yeah.
Playing the guitar, something other than just that one thing.
Yeah.
And that's going to help you become more resilient. But we just like to pigeonhole ourselves into one thing because that's simpler and it takes less effort. And what's that, baby?
On that note, when we get to the end and I start getting into like the recovery process, I want to touch on that. And especially like the culture we're in right now where it's control your sleep, control your exercise, take these supplements, control your diet. You know, like I want to talk about that.
Yeah. And then the other thing with the intrusive thoughts, I think that all humans have had intrusive thoughts at some point in time that they don't want to have. And really, it's an interesting thing because it ties a lot into the conversation we had yesterday on the podcast in a lot of ways, where what you're really seeing is that you as a human being, you are capable of doing really bad things. Like it's a powerful thing to be a human being walking around on the face of the earth. And you have this glimpse, your mind shows you this glimpse of the evil that you are capable of.
I don't agree with that.
Well, I'm just talking about for me personally.
Okay.
So like, yeah, that I'm from my experience, not for you.
Yeah.
It's like I have this glimpse of, dang, okay, well, so for me, the antidote to that has been my confidence in the indwelling Holy Spirit in me. Like I said on the podcast yesterday, I'm confident that the grace of God is restraining me at all times. And I can live my life in confidence knowing that I, like every other human, yes, I'm capable of committing the worst atrocity that has been known to mankind. Every single human is. But the Holy Spirit is the antidote to that because I know and trust that He will not allow me to get there because He loves me.
Yeah.
And that's my confidence. Like when I have those, whatever you want to call them, intrusive thoughts, evil thoughts, whatever, bad thoughts that you don't want, that you don't know where they come from. And it's just like, well, hey, whatever. Like I know by the power of the Holy Spirit that I am not actually able to go there because the grace of God is restraining me from that, is saving me and redeeming me. So I just wanted to share that and maybe give listeners who can relate to me on that, give you a little confidence and remind you that the Holy Spirit is such a gift. He is identified as our helper, and He is a helper, and He is restraining you and saving you and preserving you as His child. So that's all I had on that.
Thanks, Boo. Yeah, I'll get back to the story. But I want to just say I kind of firmly said I disagree. I don't think my intrusive thoughts are coming out of a place in my brain that actually wants to shoot you. I think it comes from a place of being scared of what I'm capable of because I feel like I'm out of control.
Yeah.
And because the intrusive thoughts always attack my deepest values. So that kind of tells me, like, if it was, yeah, but that's all I need to say.
Yeah.
I say, okay, that season struggled hard from January, well, day after Christmas, until the end of March. And throughout this time, I am weighing, because in the past, when I've had seasons where I feel like I'm spiraling with depression, anxiety, rumination, I just can't, I feel like I can't get grounded. I can't enjoy anything. I have used SSRIs in the past, and it has worked for me. But this season, I was like proud that I had gotten off of them, and I was still proud. And I was like, I kept telling you, I'm not doing it. Like
it was really hard to get off of them.
Yeah, and
it took months.
It did take months. So I just felt firm that like if I just keep seeking the Lord and I keep being the best employee I can be, and I keep, leaning on my friends, I keep making it to the gym, I keep doing the things I know that make me happy, this is going to get better. And that's just what I was holding on to. During that season, I only listened to worship music. I just quit listening to anything else. I stayed off social media. A lot of people noticed I was gone. And yeah, I just prayed a lot, and I just cried out to God a lot. And like, this is not what you guys want to hear, because it's not the fairy tale, but it didn't get better. It just kept getting worse. And I don't think that has anything to do with anything God was doing to me. I think it was my mental patterns and my fear and my lack of understanding about the way my mind works. But I told Chadd when it kind of culminated and I felt physically and mentally low enough that I started getting scared. And again, I'm going to be really real. Like, scared meaning that I am low to a point that at the time, and this is also an intrusive thought, so just keep that in mind for what we've been talking about. But at the time, I was thinking the way I feel this whole week and the way that, like, I am making it through my life, like, I can't keep doing this. Like, I had no fight left in me. Like, if this doesn't improve, I don't know what's going to happen, but I can't do it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have the strength to do it.
Well, I don't think that's uncommon. I think there are probably many people listening to this that are having that same thought.
Yeah. And it is. It's because in those moments, and I've told you this when I was in the midst of it, I said, if someone could give me a timeline, if somebody could say, Brooke, I know this is hard. I know you miss feeling like yourself. I know you miss enjoying food. I know you miss laughing. I know you miss feeling happy. I know you miss your mind going idle and just daydreaming. I know you miss all those things. This will all go away on August 31st. I would have been like, all right, let's go. 3 more months. I got this.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to die. If I know it's going to be over on that date, even if it's months away, I got this. Mm-hmm. But when I'm in that, God, there's just this feeling that, again, you can't describe. It's just this fear of, like, holy cow, like, this is otherworldly. Like, you shouldn't feel like this. And then the critic's still there. And I got to that point. I got scared, and I told Chadd, and I had the time off for work. I have a wonderful job. And so I asked Chadd if he would mind if I went to a recovery center. And there are these places. It's not a hospital. It's like it's called residential treatment. I wanted to go to this place called On Site in Nashville, but they didn't have an opening or the program I wanted. I'm not going to say where I went, but it was very similar to On Site, and it was a big cabin in Nashville with 11 other women who were struggling from, like, the range was they had suicidal thoughts or ideations, to they had depression, to codependency issues, to anxiety, to one of the girls had lived in Israel during when the war started, And so she was just dealing with a lot of issues from that. And so, yeah, I went to this.
Now, hold on. That's not the way I remember that happening.
What do you mean?
Like, so the way I remember it happening is, yeah, you were, everything what you just said is you kept spiraling, kept getting worse, and then you quit sleeping.
Yeah, I didn't want to share that.
Okay. Why didn't you want to share that?
It still is something that kind of freaks me out a little bit. So it feels really vulnerable. But now that you said it, we'll just say it.
Well, dang.
Thank you.
Well, I mean,
I said things got really bad, and I said I felt bad physically and mentally. I thought that would be enough.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but that was like the thing that really was like they say the straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah,
and
if you're struggling with any kind of mental stuff like anxiety, depression, panic disorder, OCD, go ahead and deal with it, and then barely get any sleep every night. And then it just gets so much worse.
But it was those same. It's funny because it's all the same things that was causing you not to be able to sleep.
Yeah,
it was all the same things. It's not because there was something physically. There's nothing physically wrong with you. It was all the same things. You were fighting yourself.
Yep.
And your own mind, and that's what was causing that. And so. That's the way I remember it, and you weren't like, Chadd, can I go to a recovery center? You were like, no, I'm going somewhere. Like today, I'm going somewhere today, and so I'm just like, okay, well I'll ride around with you and help you and try to help you find a place.
And I don't want to talk about that. I'm not ready to talk about that adventure, not yet. But yes, so yes, that happened. Well, and anytime I get into these seasons, I don't sleep well because I'm just too, like, my body's heightened. Is like, I don't know how to, like, my chest is tight, my jaw's tight, everything, just my heart rate stays high. It's just constant. I just constantly feel like I'm on edge. I mean, it's awful. It's an awful, awful, awful feeling. But yeah, I felt trapped. I felt like I started feeling like, okay, I'm not getting better, and now my sleep is slowly dwindling away to almost nothing. How am I ever going to get better? And then I started losing faith that I was capable of doing my job well, being a good wife, like making it to the gym. Like, I started thinking, I can't do that. I can't do those things. Like,
well, it's just flat out not healthy to not be sleeping.
No, it was awful.
Yeah.
It was freaking awful.
But also, that's not, I mean, I guess you can't say that's not something you should be afraid of, because how can you even say that? But, like, yeah, you don't have to be afraid of that. We're talking about something that happened.
I caught it.
Yeah,
I caught
good
it.
job.
For people listening, I just
set it right there on the ground.
I just leaned back, and the pretty glass photo of Chili, Chadd, and Blake fell off the wall, and I caught it.
Yeah, we're just talking about something that happened.
Well, so when I share stuff like this, I'm out of the scary, like, I am not scared of the intrusive thoughts right now. I'm not scared of the anxiety. I'm not scared of if my breathing gets to feeling shallow and my body's tingling and I don't feel well. I'm not scared of that. There is a little part of me right now that's still a little scared of insomnia.
Yeah.
So it's just, yeah, I just generally.
I won't beat that horse. I will ask you to move that picture off of that plug right there.
Yeah.
Just because I don't want to lose the whole thing.
Yeah.
If something becomes unplugged.
Okay, so.
All right. So yeah, you went to that center.
Yeah, the residential treatment center. And I told Chadd, I'm just going to go for a few days.
4 days. You said you needed 4 days.
Yeah. I said, I want 4 days. 4 days away from my phone, away from work, away from feeling like I felt guilty about him having to support me. That was a huge part of it. You were being amazing. You were being literally as selfless as it gets at this point. Like anything I needed, if I asked you, you know, I would rather you stay home with me today. I would rather this or that. You were like, absolutely. Yes. Let me know what you need. But it feels so bad. It feels so bad to be a burden, a perceived burden.
And I think also another thing that's worth mentioning that keeps people from taking the time and seeking that sort of treatment is the cost.
God, yeah.
Like, because we had to pay for this out of pocket, and everybody that wants that needs this or could benefit from this, more than likely you're going to have to pay for it out of pocket. And I can't imagine how many wives out there have a husband who could benefit from a program like that, but you know, they're not going to do it because they can't scrape together the money, or even if you had to take out a loan to do it.
Who cares?
Like, yeah. Or husbands that have wives who are struggling that say, "Oh man, my wife could really benefit from this program, I'm sure, but you know, there's no way we're spending that amount of money for her to go and do this program." I mean, it's funny.
We have people in our life right now. I'm sorry, I cut you off, Boo. It's funny
that's all I had.
Yeah, we have people in our life right now that are like, wow, I could really use that, and I've inquired about it, but they don't have the money. Yeah, and some insurances cover it. Our VA insurance obviously does not. They would put me in like a mental hospital and pay for it, but not what I did. But yeah, so I got there. I told Chadd 4 to 5 days, and then 28 days later, I came home.
Well, did you get anything out of that program, or? I
did. Yeah, it was.
Because it wasn't quite what you wanted, I don't think.
No, I wanted on-site.
Which might have been a good thing.
I wanted on-site, or I wanted something that was kind of Christian-based. And that just, I did get scared and wanted to go quickly, and saw the break I had in work too. Like, I needed to go ahead and get it done. So yeah, it was a good thing. I had to leave a lot of stuff there. Meaning there were a lot of like exercises, and because the format was, I'm in a house with these women. It's a big, huge cabin, in a rural area in Nashville. Beautiful. And like every day, like you wake up, you have breakfast, you cook all your own stuff just like it's your house. And then you meet for classes. We did martial arts, we did exercise, we did cold plunging. And you just have all these classes and activities. And it was fun. There's like an equestrian thing. But for me, the biggest benefit was, this is going to sound like a cop-out, and it kind of is, and it's where a lot of my shame came from while I was there, is all the pressure was gone. Like, all the pressure I was putting on myself that I had to show up a certain way for you, for my job, for my friends, when I walk in the gym, when I'm around my family, that was gone.
It's so funny that was the biggest benefit of that program, because the interesting thing, or the funny thing about it, is I believe that everybody needs that. Like, I just went and spent 10 days in the mountains of Colorado, the Rocky Mountains.
Yeah.
Where like you're talking about, like, I get to go just full savage, man. Like, full on savage, and just not, like you said, I don't have to think about how I'm acting toward others, or and not that we shouldn't always. I you know what I'm saying.
I do.
You just break away from what this life is. Although it has a lot of good things, it also has a lot of destructive things about it. And I'm not saying that my 10 days in the Rocky Mountains doing the Colorado Trail Race was the exact same as your recovery center, but there are a lot of elements to it that are the same. And we know a lot of people, healthy people who have healthy habits, like our friend Jeremy. He'll just take off to the he'll take off to the Grand Canyon and just spend a week by himself. Like,
yeah,
people need these things, man. Like, you need to interrupt this modern way of life that you are living, that's putting all of this crap, dumping all of this crap on you. Like, you gotta break away from that. Like, once a year for me, I got to get out. I got to get out and do something a little different. So it's interesting that you said, just having that space for that amount of time was one of the biggest benefits.
Yeah. No phone.
Yeah.
I worked remotely from that place 2 days a week. Other than that, the only time I touched my phone was to call you in the evenings.
Mm-hmm.
And it was amazing. Like, that was amazing. But
and people say, well, I can't leave my job for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Like, look, man, there's always a way. It's going to cost you something.
Yeah.
Every time. It's going to cost you something, yeah, but that's the way life is. I don't know, man. When I posted about the Colorado Trail Race I did, which again had nothing to do with the race. It had to do with what we're talking about. Just like a little mental reset.
Yeah.
And I posted online, and there's so many comments of people saying, well, look at you. You don't have kids. You don't work? You don't do, look at you. You're just out playing. I can't do this. It's like, well, just stay stuck. Like,
yeah,
everybody just feels so freaking stuck, man. They just feel stuck, and you're only stuck because you're not willing to find a way to do what you know you should do in order to become the best version of yourself. And that's for you and for the people around you.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to blame stuff on their kids or their job. And it's like, well, if you actually did things, whatever that looks like for you, if you actually got away and did something that was rejuvenating to your soul once a year, how much better would you be for your kids? How much better would you be for your team at work? Mm-hmm. That's me. How much I know if I go do this, I'm going to come back and be better for my team at work. So I'm willing to leave my team for 2 weeks to go do this because I know I'm going to come back better for them. It cost me something. And somebody had to pick up the slack while I was gone. But there's always a way. So shut up with your excuses.
Are you done?
Yeah.
So I went there. Those places aren't fun, just so everybody knows. Like, it was nice, but
they're real structured.
Very structured. You feel like you lose your freedom. It's not like a hospital where like you can't do things, but I don't have my car. I can't just, it just feels very different.
Yeah, and it forces you to eat nasty food and all the things that you can't work out the way you wanted to work out. So it's all that's building resiliency.
Yes.
It's programmed like that for a reason.
And we can talk about that more too. But yeah, so I'm there. The first 5 days I was there, I managed to get lower than the day that Kelsey dropped me off. I didn't think that was possible. I thought that when I got there, it was going to miraculously heal me. Like all this pressure was going to be off, all this. But the shame of what I had done, and like you're saying, Boo, like, oh my gosh, is my job going to be okay? Like, what do my friends think about me? How am I going to tell everybody where I've been when I show back up after being gone for 28 days? What does my husband think about me? Like, is he okay with this? Does he think I'm crazy? Does everyone think I'm crazy? And then I start looking at my calendar and my other business. I have to cancel appointments with my clients, and it just made it so much worse.
Yeah, it's going to cost you something.
Yeah. And I'm like,
100%.
I made the wrong decision. This is, so this whole season culminated for me in a mid-morning at that place, and I can't try to articulate how I felt. Like, I can't. I was just full of fear that this was never going to get better. Like, okay, I'm in a recovery center now and it's worse. Nobody can help me. I'm going to be like this for forever. I'm never going to enjoy my life again. I can't. Like, it was just doom and gloom. And I couldn't stop thinking those things. Like, I knew those thoughts were making it worse. So I was trying to stop thinking those thoughts, and then trying to stop thinking them was making that worse. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. It was just, again, I was just fighting myself. And I remember at one point, just all of a sudden, this feeling came over me. It was just, we were talking about this yesterday. I would call it despair or hopelessness. It was just this empty, nasty, like you feel like you're in awful pain, but you're really not in pain. And like you think about just going to sleep, but I couldn't rest because I couldn't relax because I felt so bad. And in that moment, I was afraid that I would be capable of suicide. I have never had like what I would consider real suicidal thoughts. I have just had the fear of getting to that point because I couldn't see a way out. And I didn't think I was capable of that, but I also didn't think I was capable of enduring that state that I was in for more than another hour. I was like, I can't do this. Like, I just can't. So this is funny now. My solution, and I haven't shared this with you before, my solution to this was this cabin had this gravel driveway that was pretty short that went down to this like rural road, and everybody was inside, and I didn't know anybody very well yet. I felt uncomfortable. I felt alone. I felt, who were these weird people? And I thought everybody was really sick and gross and weird. And it wasn't good. So in this moment with this feeling, I was trying to get rid of it. I was like, I gotta figure out a way to get rid of this feeling. I can't, So I started walking up and down the driveway. The neighbors were like, dude, these folks are legit crazy. I started walking up and down the driveway and saying out loud, I'm pretty sure pretty loud, my God loves me. My husband loves me. My friends love me. Yeah, my family loves me. And I did that for a while. And I just feel really called to share that I did not believe any of those things. Like my body and my reaction to those words was not what I wanted it to be. I wanted to feel relief at the idea that if I don't make it out of this, I get to go to heaven. And, I wanted those things to bring like light into my soul and to give me even a second of reprieve from this feeling like I was trapped and hopeless. But that day they didn't. I kept saying those things anyway. And I kept reading my Bible anyway. And I kept praying anyway. And that day was my worst day. And I talked to you on the phone that night. And I think you could tell that it was bad. But yeah, it was just one day. And looking back, like now, from right now, looking back, I'm like, I could handle that. Like I could do that. I never want to have to feel that again. But if I have to, I know I can survive it. But in that moment, it's just like, yeah. So the point of sharing that is just to encourage people that, like, I had lots of days like that, but that specific day just felt like I was failing. It felt like God had left me. It felt like I was forsaken, like I had failed. And I thought I had that day. I thought, I haven't been doing anything right. I must have just been doing my whole life wrong. Like, if God would allow me to get this low, something's wrong. You know, I did something. And now I don't believe that. Now I can see where my flesh and the world and my issues led me to feel that low, you know, and that God was still with me. And that after that day, after that point, like, I can literally visualize him picking me up and like, okay, let's go, you know. And then that day was, like I said, the lowest, and it just turned around from there. But God, it was painfully slow. Like, yeah. Like getting back to where I could feel happy and enjoy food again. Like, that was a big milestone for me. Like, enjoying a meal again. I love food. It took probably over 2 months from that point.
Yeah, well, that's the way everything works.
Yeah. But that's not, like, I was waiting this whole season, months. I was waiting on my miraculous healing.
Yeah.
I was praying for it. And I was like, being really selfish about, like, what the crap, God? Like, why can't I wake up tomorrow and feel better? Like, just fix me, you know, and that also kept me stuck, you know, just not being realistic about God is with me. I have salvation. I am filled with the Holy Spirit, but I also have to do the work.
Well, yeah, I mean, the work is enduring the suffering. Like, because the Bible tells us suffering produces character, and character produces hope, and so on and so forth. So, like I was talking about yesterday, there's meaning to our suffering as a Christian.
Yeah.
There's meaning to suffering, and we lose sight of that because we don't want to suffer. And I tell every time I go speak, I'm like, I always start off with telling people you're going to have to develop patience.
Yeah.
And, well, why? They say, why do I have to be patient? Because things are going to take longer than you want them to take every single time. If you set a goal for yourself, that's a worthy goal. That's not just something that's like superfluous and easy. Like, it's going to take you longer to achieve that than you want it to take. If you are suffering, it's going to take you longer to heal than you want it to take. If you're dying, it might take you longer to die than you want it to take.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to have to develop patience. It's just flat out. You're going to have to, or you might not make it, you know?
Well, you're not going to get the most out of everything.
Yeah, you're not. And but yeah, we don't want to suffer, and and then you talk about that moment of feeling like I can't do this. Mm-hmm. Well, it's so funny because when our minds tell us that in different seasons of our life and different endeavors that we have, but it's like, no, the reality is you can.
Yeah.
Just like you're essentially believing a lie. Mm-hmm. Like, I can't do this. Well, no, actually you can. You can do this for like one more second. You can, okay, I can do it for another 5 minutes, you know, so you actually can keep doing it. And then this moment of just feeling alone and abandoned, we so often forget that our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ was also completely alone on the cross.
He was.
So, like, when I say your suffering has purpose as a Christian, the purpose of your suffering is to conform you more into the image of Christ. That's the purpose of everything, but most especially suffering for a Christian. That's the ultimate purpose, is going to make you more like Christ. And so you got to relate in some small way in that moment to how Christ felt on the cross when he cried out, my Father, why have you forsaken me?" On the cross in utter pain and like suffering beyond our imagination. And he felt, and what not only felt, but he knew he was completely alone and forsaken by his Father as he took on the burden of sin. And God turned away from him and poured out his wrath upon him. It's like, that's the purpose of it.
Yeah.
Like that, and that's why God doesn't just come in and miraculously end it, because he knows he's cheating you out of what he's trying to accomplish in you. And the only way he can accomplish what he wants to accomplish in you is to allow you to suffer. That's the only way. There's no other way you can learn these lessons.
Yeah.
So that's my 2 cents on it from that angle.
Yeah, I love that. And I think for me, another purpose was to break down this tight grip I've had on thinking that I could control my life. Mm-hmm. And make it the exact way I wanted. And I think in that there's some distrust and there's a lack of leaning on Christ more, you know, in your weakness. And I think that was another good thing that came from being that low. But outside of that, the other thing that was impactful for me in that recovery center was being surrounded by, you just, in everyday life, you don't get the opportunity to be surrounded by other people who are also feeling hopeless and despair. Marriage is falling apart. Children have died. You know, just like people that feel the same. They feel like they're at their end. And a lot of it for me was scary. I just felt scared for those people. And a lot of it, though, was just humbling and just like the way that some of these women showed up for me, even though the things they were struggling with to me seemed way more intense and serious, but like they could come pick me up when I needed it. You know, it was just like, whoa, it was just so, it made me feel really insignificant, and it made me feel like, in a good way. And also to be in there, and some of these girls did not know Jesus, a lot of them, most of them, but you could see Christ in them. You know, like you could see it. And it was just, and I feel like that's where I see Christ the most, is when I see people together, all going through really hard things. That's always where I see his light a lot. But yeah, a lot of these people haven't found him yet. And I prayed, oh my God, every night I would pray. I would close my eyes and I would picture this huge house. I would picture each room where each girl was. And I knew from the intimacy of the groups we did and stuff what everybody was going through, and I would pray for each one of them. But there was this one lady. She was an older lady. Obviously, I'm not going to share her name. And I've never seen depression like that. Like, she was like a zombie. And she had photos of her and her husband with her, and like, her voice was flat, and she just, like, the photos, when you looked at her, it was like 2 years. And her story was she struggled with depression when she was really young, and they put her on an SSRI, I'm assuming, I didn't ask, depression medicine. She stayed on it her whole life. And then when she turned 62, in her words, the depression just came back. She never struggled. And it came back, and she couldn't get out of it. And she couldn't sleep. Hers was not anxiety, hers was depression, but she couldn't sleep, could barely eat. And she said nothing happened. Like, she was talking to us, and she's like, nothing happened. Like, 2 years ago, I was traveling, hiking in Europe with my husband. Like, we had these trips planned this year, because everybody was trying to draw out of her, like, what's wrong? You know, like, did someone die? Did you get abused? Did you and your husband, like, have a fall? And she's like, no, it's just, she believed it was just her brain. I don't know if I can get on board with that.
Yeah.
I think there is a, like, chemistry, like a neurotransmitter thing going on. I think that's definitely true. But to see this lady, she was hopeless. She didn't know Christ. She wanted to die.
Yeah. I mean, without Christ, there is no purpose in suffering.
It was awful.
Yeah, it is.
Like, it was, I think I called you one night from there just crying about her, because I was just like, and I prayed with her multiple times. Like, I sat on her bed with her, holding her. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, I hope she's okay, but
that's the reality for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's just so, God, it's I can't put words to it. Maybe I will one day, of the power in that, and like what it does to your soul. Just not just when you look at people who are suffering, but when you look at every person you pass. When you witness suffering on that level in people, it changes your perspective on the masses.
Yeah.
Like, it just changes the way you look at folks.
It does.
But so I got out of there, and what really turned things around for me, and again, this is just my story, is I was seeing a therapist here in Rome who I love, and I came to her, and I had never shared the intrusive thoughts. I had never shared a lot of what was going on internally because I was too ashamed. And I finally shared with her that I had this intrusive thought about it. It was good. I don't want to share the exact thing, but it was involving hurting a baby that I love. Would never do that. It was just a fear. And she looked at me and she's like, holy crap, Brooke. She's like, you have like classic OCD. And nobody had ever told me that before. Everybody had thrown PTSD. Everybody says I have PTSD. Everybody's like, you have trauma, you have PTSD. You need to be gentle. You need to be kind to yourself. If you are feeling afraid, don't do it. You know, all this stuff. Get a ton of therapy. Do therapy all the time. And so when she introduced the OCD concept, she gave me a couple resources of folks to like follow and things to watch. And I did some digging, and the OCD treatment is radically different than the way I had been treated since I got out of rehab. Because OCD treatment is strictly if it scares you, do it anyway. Don't be afraid of your thoughts. Don't be afraid of the things that, like, an example with the guns. Like, I was still, when I came out of the treatment center, I still had that fear in me about, like, oh, am I still capable? So I signed up for tactical games. That was literally like a response to that fear. And it sounds really radical, but that's how you have to be to tackle it. The food thing, like, very obsessive about what I eat. Started forcing myself to eat a cookie, something I would normally not want to eat because I'm, like, concerned.
You thought it would make you feel bad.
Or like, I did such a good workout today. Like, I don't really want to raise my blood sugar. Am I going to mess up my gains? You know, just this obsessiveness about everything being perfect, you know, perfecting everything. So, yeah, I just started down a path of everything that made me uncomfortable, everything that I wanted to avoid, everything, like the intrusive thoughts. I just turned and faced everything instead of, well, that makes me feel bad, so let me go talk to my therapist about it. And I love therapy. Therapy's great. But in this case, me repeating these things over and over again to people and then not facing it and running from it was making everything so much worse. But even when I changed my posture and my strategy, again, it took months to feel like I was out of the hole.
You found a really good podcast, too. You want to give them a shout out? Yes. I like those guys.
This podcast, it's called, there's two of them, but same guys. That podcast was, it was really big in my recovery. Still is.
Those guys are real, man.
It's fantastic. Well, they both struggled with panic disorder. One of them had panic disorder, OCD. They've been through this before. So the podcast is called Disordered Anxiety Help. It's Josh Fletcher and Drew Linsalata. And Drew, I think it's called Linsalata. He also has a podcast called The Anxious Truth. But man, they just encourage you, like,
they talk sensible.
It's so great. Are you scared? Like, if people have a fear of flying, you go fly. But you're anxious, and the way they put it is like, if you're scared of flying, you're going to be anxious when you go fly, but go do it anyway. And like, I always thought if I go do things that I'm scared of and I'm still anxious, I failed. No, you didn't fail. Like, and there is something happening. It's the training and the teaching your brain that I don't care that I'm anxious.
Yeah.
I don't care that I'm aggravated.
That's what takes the power from it.
It's so great. But it takes so much time.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, and you don't have to be on my level of avoidance and sorrow. Like, you don't have to be on that level of hurt to use. Like, I use this now. You know, I just intentionally do things that I know make me uncomfortable, little things, all the time now, to just kind of not allow myself to seek that security in being able to control everything, you know?
Yeah. I mean, even something as simple as just traveling, like you said, or
yeah.
But well, and by the way, after listening to those guys, it's interesting to think that even the place that you spiraled into, like, these guys that do this podcast, well, they went way worse than that. Like,
one of the guys
wouldn't even leave his house.
One of them couldn't leave his bedroom.
Yeah, he couldn't take he talked about he couldn't take his trash can out to the end of his driveway.
One guy couldn't, he couldn't leave his bedroom.
Yeah.
He couldn't go take a shower.
And that's not funny. I mean,
no.
They
make fun of it.
Yeah, yeah.
No,
so, these guys, they just do a great job. I think it's a great resource for people, like Brooke said, that even see maybe little bits of this in their own habits or in their own mindset that they, you know.
And the biggest thing I would say that podcast could help you if you have a really hard time with uncertainty. Like, if things are left, if things are left uncertain, do you begin to play them out? Do you begin to go through worst case scenarios? Do you begin to try to, look at the future? Those podcasts would help you.
Yeah, they're good.
But so I got out. I want to get, because I gotta shoot at 5:30. I got out, got home, terrified to come home because I was like, what if it all comes back? Well, it did. Then I got my footing about me. Did in fact get back on SSRIs. And I really don't want to spend a whole lot of time on it just because I want to get to your blood clot and I want to have time to talk about that. But I was on SSRIs and a sleeping medicine that I'm off of now. But one day, Chadd and I were riding bikes and I couldn't stop thinking about being on all these medicines. Like, it was just a constant. And I was so mad and angry. And I stopped riding my bike and had like a breakdown on the road. And I just remember telling you, like, I don't want to be on this freaking medicine. Like, I was angry. But it was helping. And so that's a journey I'm still walking, is like appreciating medicine when it's helpful. And if I ever figure that out, I'll let you guys know. Because right now I still struggle with it almost daily.
Well, it's hard to see that coming from your background with addiction to prescription medicine. It's hard to then view any prescription medicine as like a tool.
Or safe.
Yeah, okay, no, this is actually just a tool that I'm going to use in order to, help me overcome this or get through this.
Yeah.
It's just all is labeled as bad. So
yeah. And I have a deep distrust for pharmaceutical companies, and that all plays into it. So got out. I've barely got I'm barely grounded, y'all. Like, barely. And babe, I don't want to go into details because I didn't ask them for permission, but we had a niece pass away. And she was a baby. It was just Sid's, nobody's fault, total freak thing, but it devastated our family. Devastated, obviously. And I'm sitting here like, uh-oh. Like, I'm barely getting back to where I can regulate myself enough to like do my job well and like be all the things I have to be. And now now I want to support my people.
Yeah.
And there's a lot more to all of that. But that was a really hard blow to where we were at. And I know you felt that too. And then I would love to just, unless you have anything else, I would love to just go. And then what was it, like not even 2 weeks later, your leg started hurting?
Yeah. Well, I think the best thing that all this has produced in our marriage throughout the course of this year is the fact that we have learned for the first time how to really talk to each other about what we're going through.
Yeah.
It's not that in the past we haven't loved each other. We've always loved each other deeply, and we've always cared for each other. We've always took care of each other. But I think the best thing that it produced in us is just the fact that we realize, especially during hard seasons, we have to set aside time to have honest conversation with each other and talk about where we're at. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then the thing that it produced greatest in me is just the opportunity to learn deeper about what it means to be selfless, like to really serve you and to really put all the things that I might have wanted to do, or my schedule or whatever, just, do them, make an effort to still do everything, but also realize that I'm going to take on these other responsibilities, and I'm not just going to be okay with it. I'm going to look at it as, okay, this is an opportunity.
Yeah.
To become more selfless and really get to walk that out. So,
and man, I agree that there was so many good things that came out of that season for me, but I also second, my top one was our marriage. Our marriage changed. And in that season, I saw you supporting me, but you had started supporting me in a way that you didn't have any expectations.
mm-hmm.
Like, there was no push. You weren't giving me advice. It was just like, however I was that day, you were going to try to love me the best you could. And you didn't, like, I can't imagine being on the other side in your shoes with your personality type, and you don't understand what I'm going through. You can't really empathize with it. You know, all you have is my word, and I look fine, you know, and everything I'm telling you is just internal. You're having to take me at my word. And I just can't imagine it would be so easy for someone like you to be like, just snap out of it. Just go run 100-miler. Just, you know, and you didn't do that.
Yeah.
Like
it's a waste of time.
You just gave me space, and you had to give me a lot of space, and you had to be selfless for a while.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it was.
Well, I won't go into
amazing.
my stuff. We might come back on and do another episode and talk about when my health problems started coming into play, and what that made me contemplate and how it affected me and us. And we'll talk about that maybe on another episode. If you guys want to hear me and Brooke get together and talk more about things like this, drop us a comment here on YouTube. Let us know how it helped you and what questions that you might have.
Yeah.
And we'll pick it up again on another episode.
Yeah.
Sound good?
Are we done?
Yeah.
You always do this to me.
Well, you got to go train.
I don't have to leave till 5:00.
Well, I got to go pick up a gun too.
Oh, there's the truth. The truth comes out.
Oh, man. No, that was good, baby. I appreciate you sharing all that. I know it's hard. No matter how long you wait, you know, you don't ever, I don't want to say you do want to share these things because they hopefully help other people.
Yeah.
That's the purpose of the podcast. So you do want to share them, but it never makes you feel good. You know, it's not fun things and funny things. It's not comedy. It's difficult stuff. So
I would much rather talk about farts.
Yeah.
100%.
Well, thank you for having the courage to come and share that with people. I know it's been on your heart to do that for a while.
Absolutely.
And we truly believe that God will work all things, for the better of those who love him and for his purposes and for his kingdom. And there's purpose in our suffering. There's purpose in your suffering. And
if the
believe
purpose, the purpose might be only, I'm watching your face to make sure you don't get annoyed that I'm still talking. Are you annoyed?
You're fine.
Do you want me to stop?
No, you're fine.
I wanted to say a lot more, so I'm kind of getting thrown off right now by this like abrupt stop.
Oh, I thought we were about to transition into my stuff.
Well, yeah, but I was gonna I had other things to say about like our marriage and like relying on our community.
Well, save them for the next episode.
Okay. All right, I can do that. That makes me feel better.
Yeah, save them.
Okay.
All right.
Wow, okay.
All right, guys. Well, again, thanks for tuning in. We'll do another one of these in a couple of weeks. Does that sound good?
Yeah, sounds great. Thank you, babe.
All right. Love y'all. Nuff said.